I had secret siblings living in my attic, but I wasn't allowed to talk about them. The boy with wings, my brother, was one of them, but calling him my brother was forbidden. "He's not your sibling," my mom would say. "He's a miracle, a guardian angel." Except I knew what angels were supposed to look like, both the ones from books and the surreal ones described in scriptures. He didn't match either. His form was twisted, grotesque. His wings weren't majestic white feathers, but looked more like they belonged to a diseased crow with patches of bare skin and jagged edges. He didn't even have a name. To my parents, he was just the entity. They didn't love him, nor did they fully hate him. To them, he was something in between, a source of fascination and fear, like a wild animal you shouldn't get too close to but also can't look away from. Alongside him was the girl, his sister. They were both strange beings, fallen ones, as my mom described them, who appeared the night I was born. The story always went the same way. I was born prematurely, barely clinging to life. My mom prayed for a miracle, and her prayers were answered. These two angels appeared, saving me with their power. In gratitude, my mom begged them to stay. For years, they were part of my life. I don't remember much from when I was little, just that they were there. Back then, they looked almost normal, human even. Their wings were pure and flawless, their presence warm. But things changed. As I grew older, I saw less of them. My parents kept them hidden, claiming it was for their safety. "The world is full of people who would hurt them," Mom told me. "It's better they stay upstairs where it's safe." By the time I was 7, they no longer joined us for meals or played with me in the backyard. They were confined to the attic, only heard through the faint sound of wings brushing against the ceiling at night. I missed them, though. I would talk to their voices through the cracks in the floor, whispering stories and jokes I'd learned in school. Sometimes they'd respond with quiet laughter, but mostly they stayed silent. One day, I slipped up. At school, I drew a picture of the three of us together. My teacher noticed. "Who are these?" she asked, pointing at the two figures with wings in my drawing. "They're my siblings," I said, smiling. Her expression changed, growing darker. "Your siblings?" "They live in the attic," I added. Her reaction was strange. She pressed for more details, what they looked like, what their names were. I didn't know how to answer. Mom had always told me they didn't need names because they weren't human. When my mom found out about the drawing, she was furious. That night, she sat me down and made me swear never to mention them again. "Do you understand, Nini?" she said, her voice trembling. "If people find out about them, they'll take them away, and we can't let that happen." I nodded, tears stinging my eyes. I didn't understand why it was such a big deal. They were my family, weren't they? Years went by, and the attic became more of a mystery. My parents never let me go up there, claiming it was for storage. But sometimes at night, I'd hear strange noises. Footsteps, whispers, even sobbing. One night, curiosity got the better of me. I waited until my parents were asleep, grabbed a flashlight, and climbed the rickety stairs to the attic. What I saw up there still haunts me. My siblings were chained to the walls, their wings battered and torn. Tubes ran from their bodies, dripping a mix of blood and something golden into containers on the floor. "Jude?" I whispered, stepping closer to the boy. He lifted his head weakly, his eyes sunken and lifeless. "Nini," he murmured, his voice barely audible. "You shouldn't be here." "What are they doing to you?" I asked, choking back tears. "They're keeping us alive," he said, though his tone suggested otherwise. I turned to my sister, Lily, who was slumped against the opposite wall. She looked even worse, her once beautiful wings now little more than ragged bones and feathers. "They said they were fixing you," I whispered. Lily let out a hollow laugh. "Fixing us?" she croaked. They're using us. That night changed everything. I couldn't look at my parents the same way again. They weren't protecting my siblings. They were experimenting on them, draining them for some twisted purpose. I tried to help Jude and Lily escape. I snuck them food and even tried to break their chains, but the metal was too strong. "Call this number," Jude said one night, handing me a piece of paper with trembling hands. I didn't recognize the number, but I trusted him. The next day, while my parents were out, I borrowed their phone and made the call. What happened after that is a blur. Strangers showed up at our house, men in suits with cold, calculating eyes. They said they were here to help, but the way they looked at Jude and Lily made my stomach churn. When it was over, my siblings were gone, taken away in unmarked vans. My parents told me they had been rescued, but deep down, I knew the truth. Years later, I still think about them. I wonder if they're alive, if they ever escaped, or if they're still trapped somewhere, being used for their power. And sometimes, late at night, I hear the faint rustle of wings outside my window, as if they're calling out to me.